Well, Alabama's summer cookout is actually tomorrow, but there's already been a lot of flipping going on.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's normally him. Jimmy's got COVID. I'll tell you about that in a little bit more, and you can have your prayers for Jimmy. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We appreciate FanDuel so much. Thank you for making us your first listen or second listen every single day. And you know what? Appreciate you everydayers and you newbies out there. And Locked On, of course, is your team every day. Jimmy and I were going to go tomorrow and just talk about whatever, but there's been so much happen here in the last couple hours. Even though Jimmy has COVID and he's not able to come on, I felt like it would be best to come on and talk about some of the things that have gone down. Antonio Coleman's flip, Jamarion Gordon's flip. It sounds like Derek Smith's flip is imminent, but we'll see. We will see. Now, instead of starting off with the bad stuff, I do think it's going to be best to start out with the good stuff. And the good stuff is tomorrow, the Champions Cookout will be going on, and that's going to be a big deal. And look, this is going to be a chance for Alabama to strike back. I mean, Auburn had an uppercut and a roundhouse today with a couple of guys, and also some 26 guys. And kudos to them. I mean, they are putting an emphasis on the state of Alabama. And say what you want to about Hugh Freeze, he's doing a heck of a job with it. So congratulations to him. I know that there's some Alabama fans biting their fingernails, and, I get it. At the same time, I would say, we still got either the number one or number two class in the country. Ease up. Tomorrow, I feel very strongly that Alabama could get a commitment from A.K. Deere, the number two running back in the country. Feel very good about that. And I do really feel like that is definitely going to happen. Who knows what will happen with somebody like Anquan Fagans. I still think he ends up at Auburn, certainly. But he is supposed to visit tomorrow. Let's see if that still happens. Let's see about some of these other guys coming in. If Zion Gibson still comes in, the defensive back from Gaston City. If Anthony Jones from Mobile St. Paul's, Tank Jones, there are some hints that he may be committing to Auburn. They did a great job with some 26 guys today. Sedarian Morgan from right where I am in Alexander City. He is a fantastic player, big target. And I know he's a big Alabama fan, but, apparently Auburn has made a move there. And in fact, there have been some crystal balls put in for Sedarian Morgan to go to Auburn. Now, who knows about that? And there's a long way to go with all that. So I'm not going to sweat it too terribly much. I will say this, that I think if you're Alabama, look, you need to look big picture here. And I know there's some folks that are going to look at today and this huge momentous victory for Auburn. And it makes sense because they did get a lot of commitments and they got some big names. And again, kudos to them. There's nothing you can say but congratulations. At the same time, you need to look big pictures, take a step back. Just a couple of weeks ago, everybody was talking about Alabama and everybody was talking about Hugh Freeze being in the Bahamas or wherever he was. So recruiting is bananas these days. It's not going to change. This is going to continue to happen. We're going to talk about some of these guys that have committed to Auburn and some of the guys that are flipped or may flip to Auburn or flip anywhere. And I'm telling you, this is going to continue to be the way it is. As a guy who grew up with Forrest Davis, there's some people watching this right now that have no idea who I'm talking about. Forrest Davis was the only recruiting guy for the longest time. He had the Forrest Davis Recruiting Report or something like that. I can't even remember what it was called, but it was a magazine that came out this before the internet. So obviously before Al Gore invented it, but I also called the Tuscaloosa Hotline. And Cecil Hurt, God rest his soul, he would put an update on there about recruiting, and I would call it incessantly. Like I'd call it every 5 minutes, and sometimes it'd just be the same recording, but I'd listen to it again just because I wanted to absorb it. recruiting's not that way anymore. I mean, it's not that way in the sense that, I was thinking today about how when somebody committed and, you put a highlighter, like what I would do is to highlight that name in Forrest Davis recruiting report and say, okay, this guy committed to Alabama. It's a done deal. That's just the way it was. Now flips are just they're going to happen all the time, and things are going to change on a dime because somebody may up their NIL offer. That really is what it comes down to, is what it seems like. So, and Alabama may up theirs for some of the guys. Who knows? And then losing Antonio Coleman may make room for Alabama to be able to offer a better package to somebody even better. Who knows? Or maybe they put a package together for somebody like him. So I'm not going to sweat that. I'm going to focus more on the fact that Alabama is number 1 or number 2 in recruiting right now and just kicking butt. Just a couple of weeks ago that Alabama was the talk of the town. Auburn will be the talk of the town for the next couple of days. That's just going to be the way it is. Naheem Alford went to Auburn instead of going to Oregon. I still think he ends up at Ohio State, but that's a big move for them. That's good publicity. And so I just think this is going to be the way that it is. And it's tough, but tomorrow Alabama's got a great shot with this cookout to make some big things happen. Again, you get a commitment from AK Deer, you get somebody like, Anquan Fagans or Antonio Coleman or any of these guys to come in and be like, oh, wait a minute, I need to figure out what I want to do here. Or one other surprise. I mean, apparently there may be some surprises at this cookout. I'm hoping the weather holds up really well for it because I think that will be certainly problematic if you're having this big cookout and it ends up being a cook-in. So let's hope that the weather holds up, and let's hope that things get better there. And Levi Raker says, I'm not going to read all the live comments because they say that's not good for the podcast, but he says, get well, Jimmy. It's not the same without you. Lord have mercy. I agree with you, Levi. I'm here not because I feel like I can do a better job than Jimmy. I want everybody to understand that. I love it when Jimmy's here. Jimmy and I really enjoy doing this together, but he really is sick. And he said he's hoping he can go tomorrow. And I said, look, I think I got to go on here. And the guys that follow Locked On Bama every day, or even some of the newbies, I want people to know that we care about this stuff. And we're not just, putting out something when it's, convenient for us. I mean, I'm telling you all the truth. This is not very convenient for me. I got a ton of family here and whatever, and I'm just happy to be here. But this means a lot to me, all this recruiting stuff. I've followed it all my life. So I'm appreciate you guys taking the time to listen with me. So again, what we're going to do next, we're going to talk about Antonio Coleman a little more. We're going to see, where this thing lands, because Lord knows it could be anywhere. But of course, I want to tell you about eBay Motors first. eBay Motors, we couldn't do this without them. They are fantastic. We appreciate their being a sponsor. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much, much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you'll money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you ain't burning cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions, of course, they apply. And eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right. Antonio Coleman, he flips again. It's his fourth commitment, and my initial reaction is the same as all y'all's initial reaction. See you later. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, all that stuff, right? That's my initial reaction. That's not the reaction. That's not the best reaction to have. That's not what you should have. I'm telling you, you don't know how this thing's going to end up. And it's a long way to December. Okay. And I'm telling you, look, I see some folks saying, hey, if it ain't Bama, I don't care. I'm with you on that. Okay. I'm down with that. But that's not the way you can recruit if you're the coach, if you're the coaching staff. That's not the way you can recruit. You can't be like, okay, if you don't want to be here, see you later. That's, I hate to use this example, but that's not what Hugh Freeze did. He kept calling, and eventually, somebody may give in. And I think what you do here, if you're Alabama, you understand that, hey, this kid is very impressionable. Look, Caleb Cunningham, very impressionable. Now, however it happened, Alabama has gotten him to commit. He didn't go to Big Cat, which, hey, look, thankfully, because it sounded like Big Cat was a big hit. And Caleb Cunningham should be at the cookout, and that's great. And, sometimes some of these kids are just more impressionable than others. And Antonio Coleman he likes wherever he goes, he seems to be like, hey, this is where I want to be. It may end up being Alabama again. It may end up being somewhere else. Who knows? But you don't quit if you want him. That's the key. I mean, and I think this staff does want him in this class. I think this staff definitely wants Derek Smith in this class. I mean, that is another kid that it sounds like a flip is imminent. I'm not saying it's 100% going to happen. I feel like it very well could happen. There's a lot of stuff that could very well happen. So, and if that does go down, assuming that they want him, just be happy that Alabama is still continuing to do this. I'm not trying to just sit here and spew sunshine on everybody, but I am saying I see a lot of comments from some folks that are maybe a little bit in panic mode, and I'm just thinking, hey, this staff has it together. Y'all, I mean, they're number 2 and number 1 in the country on some services. Let's ease up. Let's see how this cookout goes tomorrow. And Jimmy and I definitely are going to be talking about that tomorrow. We'll probably have our podcast, by the way, after some of the news is hit about that, because there's really no sense in speculating. I mean, that's what we're doing tonight, right? So there's really no sense in speculating on a lot of that. Let's just let's see how this goes tomorrow, and that'll be better. But as far as Antonio Coleman goes, look, yes, another hit, and it's another hit in state for Alabama. Look, I'm with the AHSA radio network, so I love in-state guys. I love Saraland. I think Saraland's a fantastic place, right? And a fantastic program, and they're well coached, all those things. I love Ryan Williams. This is a Ryan Williams podcast. I like KJ Lacey a lot. If Alabama ended up with KJ Lacey, I'd be happy with it. I'm not as happy as I am with Keelan Russell, but I'd be happy with it. So my point on this is just keep plugging away at Antonio Coleman. You never know what's going to happen there. And I think he's a good player. I don't think losing him is not the worst thing in the world. Regaining him would not be the best thing in the world. But he's a player we need. And if you look at Alabama's commit list and you think about defensive linemen, look, unless Alabama's going to hit a home run with a Terry or somebody like that, I mean, you need some more Antonio Colemans on these lists, if you ask me. So I certainly would not give up on Antonio Coleman just yet. I think that this is a kid that can contribute. I don't know if he's a day one contributor, but I think that he's somebody that can certainly come up. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he had a Justin Aboigbe type of career wherever he goes. So let's see what happens. Here's another great point. And Lisa Rawls has just put this out there. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate you being with the show. She says a recruiting process can reveal who you want to go to battle with and who you do not. Trust to be in the foxhole. Who do you trust to be in the foxhole alongside you? DeBoer and staff may continue to pursue, but likely know what we now know. I'm not sure what that last part means, but I'll say this, that here's an opportunity. I don't want to sound like Mike DeBose here. This is an opportunity, a challenge and an opportunity, right? Let's see how DeBoer takes this on, okay? Because what has happened is he landed a few punches nationally. Now he's taken some body blows in a state variety. Let's see how this goes down. If he gets some more guys nationally, I'm not going to sweat it. I mean, the world is a much smaller place, right? It's so much easier to get every. Look, I'm telling you guys, I have a son is at Arizona State. He flew in Wednesday afternoon. He left this morning at 5 a.m. His brother and sister from Ohio, they flew in Thursday. We all got to see each other. They fly back Monday. What I'm saying is, I've got these kids. I got a lot of kids all over the place, and they've been able to fly in and just hang out with me. I'm at my parents now on beautiful Lake Barton, and we've just all been able to hang out. You know why? Because it's so much easier to travel now. I know it's a bad week to say that, considering what happened with CrowdStrike, but you know what I mean. That I'm not sweating, even though I'm with the HSA Radio Network. I'm not quite as worried about losing the state of Alabama as I am winning the national recruiting battles of the guys we want. So Antonio Coleman, it's a loss to me. I would love to have him. I love the Saraland program. I think he's a great player. I want him on this recruiting commitment list and signee list eventually. But if we lose him, I'm not sweating it. If it's not the same to me as if Justice Terry were committed to Alabama and he flipped to Georgia. It's just not the same. So I want Antonio Coleman back on this list. I promise you I do. And again, I go back to, this is an opportunity for Kalen DeBoer to say, okay, I took my lumps. Let me give some back, and let's see what he does there. I think that's going to be very interesting to see, because Kalen DeBoer doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's just going to be like, oh, well, boy, Hugh Freeze really stuck it to me. I just don't feel like that's the kind of dude he is. So let's see how this goes. All right, now I want to tell you about FanDuel. Y'all know I love FanDuel. FanDuel is so much fun. It really is. And you would love it. If you hadn't tried it yet, you need to. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. I'm even watching the Olympics, even though, the opening ceremonies got my goat a little bit. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games. And the sports aren't sports like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. I want to encourage everybody to go check out Locked On Sports Today. If you're tired of all the screaming from ESPN and the Mad Dog and everybody else, go check out Locked On Sports Today. You're going to love it. Let me say again, the reason I'm flying solo right now is because Jimmy has COVID. He has felt awful. Prayers are appreciated. It's not that bad. It's not dire or anything, but he's sick and he's on a lot of meds. I'm hoping that he will be back tomorrow so that we can talk after the cookout information comes out and we can go there. So anyway, Jamarion Gordon. This is a guy that was committed to Alabama for the 26 class. And look, again, Alabama has sort of taken its lumps in the 2026 class so far. I mean, Auburn racked up on some dudes today. A long way to go in 2026. I want to say that, but they got Hezekiah Harris today. They got Shadarius Tootle today. They've got Jermichael Garrett today. Alabama had Jamarion Gordon, and he has flipped to UCF. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to sweat that very much at all. When he committed, if you want to go back and look at the podcast, Jimmy and I were happy. I mean, look, Jackson's a fantastic program. They got Landon Duckworth there. So that is a quarterback committed to South Carolina, who's a fantastic athlete. Jackson's just a powerhouse of a program. And congratulations to UCF for getting him to commit there. I think that's awesome for them. Hey, they're in the Big 12 now. They can make some moves. That's not, again, going to make or break the class. So let's just see what happens with Alabama in the 26 group. Long way to go to 2026. And if you don't believe me, all you got to do is look at Antonio Coleman. He is on his fourth commitment, and we aren't out of July yet. So he can't sign till December. So, I mean, a lot can happen. A lot's going to happen on the field. Let's see how Alabama performs on the field. Let's see how Auburn, UCF, and all these other programs perform on the field. And let's just see what happens. I want to go back to, again, Jamarion Gordon. I know I've got him on the list here. I don't think it's as big of a deal. I don't mean to slight the kid. I think he's a fantastic player. And I would welcome him back if Alabama wants him. But it's again, it's not going to make or break the class. Now, Kevin Bacon, I don't know if it's that Kevin Bacon who has joined us. He says he doesn't think we should have taken Antonio Coleman back in the first place. I just don't agree with that sentiment. And I wouldn't agree with that sentiment with Jamarion Gordon or anybody like that. I wouldn't agree with it back when it was Reuben Foster. Reuben Foster had an Auburn tattoo, for God's sakes. So things change. People get caught up in a moment. I mean, if you've ever been infatuated with somebody versus in love with somebody, you know what I'm talking about. That, you're infatuated with somebody like this guy. I could live with this girl forever, or I could live with this guy forever, or whatever. And then the weekend ends and you're like, what have I done to myself? And is it too late for me to get out of this relationship? And then when you're in love with somebody, you realize, hey, I can stay here the rest of my life for real, like not messing around, through the flaws, through the ups, through the downs. And I think that's what Alabama's going to have to show tomorrow at the cookout is just show, hey, we understand you went to Big Cats. You had a blast. I know. And somebody said Coleman is definitely not Foster. Agreed. I'm just trying to make a point. But tomorrow, I think Alabama needs to show style and substance. When I think about something like Big Cat, I think about how, it's a lot of bells and whistles, and congratulations again. I think what Alabama needs to show is the stability that they've shown. And I'm not trying to cut on what Auburn did today, because it was a big deal, and it was a big deal for them. There's no doubt. And it was a statement. I do not deny it. But I think if you're Alabama, that what you do is you focus in on the fact that Alabama is the most stable program in the country. And I'm stable in a good way, not 8-4 every year, double-digit wins every year, playoff contention every year. Been number one at some point for 12 or something straight years. That was just bananas. I know the streak has ended, but it was a long time. Talk about Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts and the like getting these gigantic monster contracts. Talk about the other guys in the NFL that are on the NFL's top 100 list. Alabama's got a boatload of them on there. Patrick Surtain's on there. Jonathan Allen's on there. Devontae Smith's on there. He's on there way too low, by the way. He's number 90. That's bananas nuts. Amari Cooper's on there. Jalen Hurts and Tua will be on there. I don't think they're on there yet. But all these guys or Landon Dickerson could be on there. We'll see. But I think if you're Alabama, you focus on the positives. You focus on what Alabama has done, which is, hey, we've got a foundation built. We don't have to sell you on anything about what we're going to do. We can show you what we have done and what we will continue to do. And we want you to be a part of it. And there's something kind of cool about saying we would love for you to be a part of it. We don't necessarily have to have you, but we definitely would love to have you. And we hope that you commit to us. And if you do, you will be a better person for it eventually. And I think that's what Alabama will focus on. And I think that's what it would be, less bells and whistles and more substance. Again, not to slight anything else that anybody else did today, because they certainly made a statement. But I think if you're Alabama, you stay the course. Nothing to panic about. Don't try and oversell anything. Alabama sells itself. So, again, I feel good about where Alabama is. I understand if people are a little like, oh, my God, what is happening? You look at that, you look on 24/7 or you look on On3 and you look at the crystal balls for the 26 class or the commitments, they're all Auburn right now. Again, congratulations. Long, long, long way to go. That's all I'm going to say. Everybody keep your head up. It's going to be all good. And Jimmy and I'll be back tomorrow with more to talk about the cookout. I appreciate all you guys chiming in. Thank you so much for being with me on just a Saturday night in the middle of no time. We appreciate you guys a ton. Please do subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us. And we hope that you enjoy what we put out there. I am sorry I had to go solo tonight. Again, y'all give a quick prayer tonight for Jimmy. He does have COVID. He's not on his deathbed, but he's hurting. And so hopefully he'll be back with us tomorrow. Until then, roll tide, everybody.